Success ever trusts a man with reward, it tests him with resistance. Before life opens the gate, it watches what he does in front of the locked door. Before victory puts weight in his hands, trial puts pressure on his spirit. That is the law most men hate, because they want proof before pressure, reward before resistance, confirmation before conflict. But life does not work that way. Every road to success is tested by trial. Every ambition worth carrying is questioned by hardship. Every serious desire is examined by delay, disappointment, fatigue, confusion, criticism, and the silent season when nothing seems to answer back. That is not cruelty. That is selection. Trial is how life asks whether you really want the thing you keep speaking about, or whether you only wanted the feeling of wanting it. This is why many men never reach the life they imagine. Not because they were never offered a road, but because they mistook the trial on the road for proof they were on the wrong road. The moment resistance appeared, they became offended. The moment progress slowed, they began doubting. The moment criticism arrived, they felt insulted. The moment the work became repetitive, they lost interest. In other words, they wanted success, but they did not want to be tested for it. That is impossible. A bridge is tested before lives are trusted to cross it. Steel is tested before it is placed under strain. Character is tested before responsibility becomes safe in its hands. Why should your future be any different? Why should wealth, peace, mastery, influence, leadership, or any serious result arrive in full measure before the man pursuing it has been tried in the hidden places where weakness either gets exposed or ruled? That is why you must settle this truth now, before the trial comes, or while you are still standing in the middle of it. Opposition is not always a sign to stop. Difficulty is not always a warning. Delay is not always denial. Silence is not always rejection. Sometimes these things are simply the proving ground. Sometimes the road is not blocking you. It is building you. Sometimes the pressure is not there to destroy your purpose. It is there to separate your purpose from your pride, your seriousness from your enthusiasm, your discipline from your emotion, your faith from your need for constant proof. This is where shallow ambition dies and durable strength begins. Most men are emotionally unprepared for this. They expect the right road to feel affirming. They think a true calling should move smoothly, a worthy dream should open easily, a meaningful effort should be constantly rewarded with visible progress. No. Often the exact opposite happens. The right road exposes you. It shows you your impatience. It reveals your weak routines. It draws out your fear. It confronts your pride. It makes your hidden laziness impossible to disguise. It lets you feel how much of your confidence was still borrowed from praise, how much of your work ethic was still tied to mood, how much of your endurance depended on visible encouragement. The right road often becomes the harshest mirror you have ever faced. Not because it is wrong, but because it is worthy. This is why trial must be understood correctly. Trial is not merely trouble. Trial is examination. It asks questions no speech can answer. Can you continue when applause is absent? Can you keep your hand steady when the result is still far? Can you tell the truth when the truth humiliates your current level? Can you hold the standard when comfort asks for compromise? Can you remain under law when your feelings offer you 10 reasons to abandon it? Can you keep building in plainness? Can you recover after failure without turning failure into your identity? These are not abstract questions. Life asks them through real moments, through missed opportunities, through disappointing results, through hard seasons, through criticism that bruises, through lonely stretches where your effort seems to echo back at you without proof. And that is why trial is one of the greatest forces in a man's life. It reveals him to himself. Many think they know who they are until the pressure rises. They think they are patient until a good thing delays. They think they are disciplined until the day grows dull. They think they are faithful until the reward becomes uncertain. They think they are strong until life ignores their preferred timeline. Then the trial begins speaking. It shows them where they're divided, where they're soft, where they're proud, where they're still governed by appetite, praise, convenience, or fear. This revelation is painful, yes, but it is also precious, because what is revealed can be corrected. What is hidden keeps ruling until trial drags it into the light. That is why a wise man stops asking only, "How do I get through this?" and starts asking, "What is this exposing in me?" That question changes the whole season. It turns trial from meaningless pain into useful pressure. It stops the man from wasting hardship through self-pity. It forces him to look inward, where the real work is often waiting. Maybe the trial is exposing your weak habits. Maybe it is exposing your need to be reassured. Maybe it is exposing the fact that your routine has no depth when external motivation disappears. Maybe it is exposing the way you still speak against your own future under stress. Maybe it is exposing how quickly you become emotional when the answer is delayed. Good. Let it expose. Better painful truth than comfortable blindness. Better a wound that heals than a weakness that remains hidden long enough to destroy a larger future later. Now, this is where many make their worst mistake. They interpret every trial as a verdict. They say, "This is hard, therefore it must not be for me. This is taking time, therefore I must be failing. This setback happened, therefore perhaps I should stop." That is childish thinking. Trial is not always speaking against your road. Often it is asking whether you are fit to stay on it. The question is not always whether the road is correct. The question is whether you are becoming the kind of man who can walk it all the way through. There is a tremendous difference. If you mistake the test for a sentence, you will abandon good ground simply because it became difficult enough to reveal what still needed strengthening in you. This is why every road to success is tested by trial. The road itself must know what kind of traveler is on it. A careless man cannot safely hold careful wealth. A weak-minded man cannot safely carry strong influence. An undisciplined man cannot safely manage enlarged opportunity. A man governed by mood cannot safely sustain large responsibility. So the road tests him. It tests whether he can continue, whether he can learn, whether he can be corrected, whether he can be refined without becoming bitter, whether he can endure a season that does not flatter him, whether he can keep building when the stage is small, the labor is plain, and the outer signs are few. That is what the trial is measuring. And make no mistake, the measure is severe. Trial does not care about how beautiful your intentions sounded last month. It watches what you do on the weak morning. It watches what you say after disappointment. It watches whether one bad day turns into a bad week. It watches how you spend when you feel pressure. It watches whom you become when no one understands what you are trying to build. It watches whether you become sharper or softer, more disciplined or more emotional, more sober or more dramatic. Trial tells the truth because it strips away performance. Performance is easy when life is smooth. Performance dies quickly in honest hardship. The weak man can act serious when everything around him is cooperating. But once resistance rises, his relationship with truth gets exposed. Does he still work? Does he still save? Does he still tell the truth? Does he still keep his word? Does he still rise? Does he still think clearly? Or does he become loose, angry, indulgent, entitled, self-pitying, reactive, and eager to be comforted rather than corrected? Trial reveals all of this. That is why the man who survives it with dignity becomes heavier than he was before. Something false dies in him. Something cleaner stands up. This is also why you must stop envying people whose visible success you did not witness being tested. You saw the result. You did not see the resistance that sifted them. You saw the harvest. You did not see the long season where they were being asked whether they would still plant, water, wait, and work while the field looked unresponsive. Every real builder has a hidden history with trial. There was a season of doubt, a season of plainness, a season of correction, a season of reduced comfort, a season where the work looked too small for the dream and too repetitive for pride. That season matters. It often matters more than the visible success that came later, because without the trial, the visible success may have destroyed the man instead of enlarging him. That is one of the least understood mercies in life. Trial often makes future success safer. A man learns patience before increase. He learns restraint before money. He learns steadiness before influence. He learns recovery before larger setbacks. He learns silence before greater visibility. He learns how not to panic when the answer delays. He learns how not to break when one effort fails. He learns how not to turn every obstacle into a personal insult. These are not small lessons. These are the beams that hold the whole structure up later. Without them, what arrives may still arrive, but it will rest on weak supports. Now let us speak of another thing trial does. It purifies motive. In the beginning, many men are driven by mixed desires. They want to win, yes, but they also want to impress, to prove, to silence doubt, to receive recognition, to feel superior, to escape the shame of smallness. Fine. Human motives are often mixed at first, but trial burns. It burns away some of the vanity. It burns away some of the fantasy. It burns away some of the need to be seen quickly. It leaves the man with a clearer question. Do you still want this when there is no applause attached to it? Do you still want this when it costs more than you expected? Do you still want this when your ego cannot dress itself in quick proof? If the answer is yes, the thing is becoming more real. It is no longer just a wish. It is becoming a commitment. And commitment is what trial is always after. It wants to know whether your yes survives pressure. Anyone can say yes under ideal conditions. Trial asks whether yes remains yes when ideal conditions disappear. That is the examination. That is why the man who passes through enough trial with his standards intact becomes a different kind of man. He is no longer relying on emotional force alone. He has seen himself under pressure and learned how to remain. That memory becomes confidence. Not confidence built on praise, but confidence built on tested return. He knows he can suffer without dissolving. He knows he can be corrected without quitting. He knows he can be delayed without becoming useless. He knows he can be disappointed without becoming fake. These are forms of wealth no applause can give. Now, if you are in trial now, this must become your new way of thinking. Stop asking only how long it will last and start asking what it is teaching. Stop asking only when relief will arrive and ask what strength is being asked of you now. Stop using the trial only as a reason to feel sorry for yourself. Use it as instruction. Is it exposing a weak routine? Then strengthen it. Is it exposing emotional spending? Then cut it. Is it exposing a lazy relationship with time? Then order it. Is it exposing fear in your thinking? Then confront it. Is it exposing a need for constant reassurance? Then build in silence until silence stops controlling you. This is how trial becomes profitable. A man who does this never wastes pain entirely. Hardship may still hurt him, yes, but it no longer passes through his life without leaving behind greater sobriety, clearer law, cleaner speech, deeper discipline, or stronger faithfulness. That is the mark of a serious man. He is not just surviving trial. He is using it. Not perfectly, not without days of fatigue or moments of strain, but usefully. He is letting it make him truer instead of more theatrical. And that leads to the final truth. The road to success is not tested by trial because life hates you. It is tested because success is expensive, and cheap men cannot carry expensive things well. Trial is how life asks whether you are becoming too substantial to be broken by ordinary resistance. It is how life asks whether your ambition has become structure, whether your discipline has become habit, whether your values remain standing when pressure enters the room. So when the trial comes, do not be quick to call it your enemy. It may be the furnace that is burning the weakness out of your metal. It may be the season that is teaching your feet how to walk the road without demanding that the road flatter you every mile of the way. And if you can understand that, then you will stop fearing trial quite so much. You will still feel it, yes, but you will no longer let it talk you out of the future it came to prepare you for. And once a man accepts that trial is not an insult but an examination, the next lesson becomes even more severe. Trial does not only ask whether you can endure pain, it asks whether you can remain yourself under pressure. That is a far deeper question, because many men can stand hardship for a short while and still come out of it smaller, harsher, more bitter, more scattered, and less true than they were before. They survive the season, yes, but they do not pass the test. The test was never merely whether they would stay alive through it. The test was whether they could keep their discipline, their standards, their clarity, their faithfulness, and their dignity while the pressure kept pressing. This is why trial reveals character more quickly than comfort ever can. Comfort lets a man hide. It lets him speak beautifully without challenge. It lets him imagine he is patient because nothing is opposing him. It lets him imagine he is disciplined because temptation has not become expensive yet. It lets him imagine he is faithful because the road is smooth enough that faith costs very little. But trial strips these comfortable illusions away. It takes a man out of the realm of imagination and places him in the realm of proof. It says, now show me. Now keep the standard. Now return after disappointment. Now control the tongue. Now govern the hand. Now work while uncertain. Now stay honest when easier lies are available. That is how a man learns who he really is. And what he learns is often painful at first. He may discover that his patience was shallow, his courage seasonal, his discipline tied too tightly to praise, his confidence too dependent on visible progress, his peace too dependent on circumstances behaving kindly. Good. Let him discover it. Better to be wounded by truth than preserved by flattering illusion. Better to know where the structure is weak than to keep painting the outside while the beams inside are beginning to rot. Trial is a gift precisely because it exposes weakness while there is still time to strengthen it. That is why you must never waste a hard season by using it only as a reason to complain. Complaining is one of the cheapest ways to throw away instruction. It takes a season that could have made you sharper and turns it into nothing more than emotional smoke. The weak man is always converting pressure into performance. He wants others to see how much he is carrying. He wants his struggle noticed, his burden admired, his hardship validated. Fine. Maybe others will pity him for a moment. But pity does not build. Pity does not strengthen judgment, discipline, or endurance. Trial is too expensive to spend only on being understood. It must be spent on becoming more exact. That means asking better questions in the middle of resistance. Not merely, why is this happening? But what does this reveal? Not merely, when will this be over? But what must be built in me before the next season arrives? Not merely, how do I escape this feeling? But what law is this pressure forcing me to respect? These questions shift the whole tone of the season. They take the man out of self-pity and return him to usefulness. They make the trial productive instead of theatrical. And now the matter grows even more serious, because every road to success is not tested by one trial alone. It is tested by repeated trials, often in different forms. First comes delay, then criticism, then fatigue, then disappointment, then temptation, then boredom, then the dangerous season of partial success, where a man is tested by whether visible progress will make him careless. In each case, the road is asking something specific. Delay asks if you can remain without visible reward. Criticism asks if you can remain without everyone's approval. Fatigue asks if your standards still stand when energy drops. Disappointment asks whether one failed effort can make you abandon what still matters. Temptation asks whether you can hold your future higher than immediate pleasure. Boredom asks whether you can keep obeying when the work is no longer emotionally dramatic. Partial success asks whether progress will deepen your discipline or weaken it. You must understand this, or you will keep mistaking new tests for random attacks. The road is not confused. It is thorough. It wants to know whether your seriousness is whole or partial, whether you are strong only in one weather or in many, whether your standards survive when the form of resistance changes. This is why some people pass one trial and then fail the next. They can survive hardship, but not praise. They can survive poverty, but not increase. They can survive criticism, but not monotony. They can survive urgency, but not patience. So the road keeps testing. This is not because life delights in torment. It is because incomplete strength cannot safely carry complete success. Imagine a man who can work hard when desperate, but becomes lazy once money appears. Imagine a man who can speak boldly in private, but collapses under public criticism. Imagine a man who can save while afraid, but spends foolishly once comfort returns. Imagine a man who can start with passion, but never stay with the process once the task becomes repetitive. Such a man might reach moments of progress, yes, but he remains too unstable for sustained success. Trial is trying to cure that instability. That cure often comes through repetition. The same weakness may be exposed more than once. This frustrates many people. They say, I thought I had already learned this lesson. Perhaps partly. But life often repeats the exam until the answer becomes habit. A man says he has learned patience, and then another delay comes. He says he has learned self-control, and then another appetite rises. He says he has learned steadiness, and then another season of plain work arrives. This does not always mean he failed the first time. Sometimes it means the lesson must be strengthened until it becomes natural under greater weight. That is why serious men stop getting offended when old tests return. They stop saying, why am I dealing with this again? And start saying, then let me handle it more cleanly this time. That is growth. Not demanding that the test disappear forever after one small victory, but becoming more exact each time it appears. A man who does this becomes progressively harder to shake. The same situation that once ruined a week now only disturbs an hour. The same criticism that once shattered his confidence now only makes him review his course and continue. The same temptation that once owned him now finds a firmer gate. This is how trial gradually turns into strength. And make no mistake, trial also reveals what you worship. If comfort is your God, hardship will expose it. If approval is your God, criticism will expose it. If speed is your God, delay will expose it. If pride is your God, correction will expose it. If appetite is your God, restraint will expose it. This is one reason trial hurts so much. It touches the things you have secretly placed too high. It shows you what has had too much authority over your peace, your actions, and your identity. But once exposed, those false gods can be toppled. That is the hidden mercy. A man can only overthrow what he has first seen clearly. This is why some of the most painful seasons produce the most honest men. They stop pretending. They stop speaking in inflated language about their strength while living under the rule of small comforts. They stop decorating their weakness with clever words. Trial has stripped them. Now they know what still needs governing. Now they know where their confidence was still shallow. Now they know what habits were stronger in appearance than in substance. This knowledge can sting, but it also gives the man a real chance at becoming whole. Now, let us go deeper into one of the most important forms of trial, the trial of plainness. People often imagine trial as dramatic events, great losses, public failures, sudden hardships. Those are trials, yes. But one of the deepest trials in any serious life is plainness. The plain day, the plain week, the plain season where nothing seems to announce itself. No applause, no breakthrough, no catastrophe, just work, just discipline, just repetition, just ordinary obedience. Many men fail here because they need drama in order to feel alive. They are addicted to emotional intensity. So when the road becomes plain, they start creating noise. They sabotage. They wander. They chase novelty. They abandon routines that were working because the routines no longer flatter their feelings. This is a costly mistake. Plainness is where foundations are built. A plain season is often where the strongest habits are formed, where skill deepens quietly, where trust accumulates, where money begins stabilizing, where the soul learns how to obey without needing emotional reward every day. If a man cannot endure plainness, he will never stay with anything long enough to become formidable. This is why boredom is not a minor issue. Boredom is one of the tests on the road. It asks whether you want the result enough to remain with the process even when the process no longer entertains you. The weak man confuses boredom with meaninglessness. The strong man understands that much of what matters becomes repetitive before it becomes magnificent. Practice is repetitive. Saving is repetitive. Building trust is repetitive. Strengthening the body is repetitive. Sharpening a craft is repetitive. Guarding the first hour is repetitive. The man who cannot respect repetition will keep abandoning the very things that would have changed his life. Trial in the form of plainness exists to teach him this. It says, will you stay? Will you keep the law when the work feels almost too ordinary to count? Will you continue even when your own emotions are no longer cheering? That is where seriousness becomes visible. Now there is another test that comes on everywhere the road, and that is the trial of misunderstanding. At some point, if you are serious, not everyone around you will understand the life you are trying to build. Some will question you. Some will mock your discipline. Some will misread your focus as coldness, your restraint as fear, your ambition as vanity, your standards as excess. If your identity still depends too heavily on being liked, this trial will weaken you. You will start bending your life to remain comfortable to people who are not carrying your future anyway. That is expensive. because a man who keeps reshaping his standards to stay easy to digest will never become heavy enough to build anything exceptional. So the road tests whether you can continue without universal approval. Can you remain kind without becoming soft? Can you stay true without explaining every decision? Can you protect the central work without apologizing for it? This is another trial that reveals a great deal. It shows whether your loyalty is truly to the purpose or still partly to the comfort of being understood. The man who passes here becomes freer. He no longer wastes so much force managing other people's feelings about his discipline. He becomes less noisy, less defensive, and more rooted. That is strength. And now one more test must be named, because it ruins many who thought they had already proven themselves: the trial of small success. This comes when the man begins seeing some progress.